Time for an oil change? Head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. We've also got you covered when it comes to oil changes, thanks to Pennzoil Synthetic Motor Oil, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
For the win! Good!
Is this the greatest finish to a basketball championship ever? Incredible, Enrique Ogunbowale. Also, expecting the same thing tonight, so you better get on that Brunson and buckets, please. And everything else from the zlatiest, prowiest, knifiest weekend. Let's go around the horn. Why is the dude with the knives wearing the pants?
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reali.
Michigan. The national title awaits. How we got here. Villanova just radiating threes. Mo Wagner stepping up just when it looked like another Loyola miracle was in our midst. But now that we're here, let's look at the line. Villanova is a 7-point favorite. They've won 9 straight by double digits. But Michigan's won 14 straight. Kevin, is Villanova really that big of a favorite in your eyes?
Yeah, they really are. I mean, this is almost wire to wire for this team. They play really well with what they have, and that small ball lineup and guys who can really shoot it. You know, they lead the country in offensive efficiency. They lead the country in three-pointers made. They lead the country in offense. And let's not forget, remember, they had one game in this tournament against Texas Tech where they weren't shooting the lights out. So what did they do? They cranked up their defense and they cranked up their boards. And that's when they can turn guys like Spellman and Paschal loose to do those other things. So, yeah, I think it's very legitimate favorite.
So you don't think there's anything Michigan can do defensively to stop Villanova?
I really don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I really don't think so. I think
not much of a conversation. I guess, should we just call the show right now? That's it. No
That's
chance for a game tonight. Israel, join us, please.
No, I do think that, if they play their normal games, Villanova should be favored, of course. But it is the NCAA tournament. It is a one-game scenario. There is a lot of pressure on the line here. And if you look at what Michigan has done throughout the tournament, they've just been playing better defense than their offense has been bad, right? So they've just been able to keep their opponents down and keep the games close if they need to. Obviously, the one they won on the buzzer beater. I think they can do that with Villanova. And if you look at Michigan's three-point shooting numbers, these are the ifs that are necessary for Michigan to win here. If you look at Michigan's three-point shooting numbers throughout this tournament as compared throughout the regular season, they're kind of due for a big three-point shooting game. So with that defense, and if they can hit on those three-pointers, I think they absolutely give Villanova a game.
Playing better defense than their offense is bad is Woody's strategy on the show. It's gotten him 569 and a half wins. There you go, Woody. It's all yours. What to watch for tonight?
We've gotten rid of all the Cinderellas. They're all on the pumpkin truck out of town. But we've got a fairy tale finish with Beauty and the Beast. And listen carefully. So you got the beautiful offense that Villanova runs. I mean, I think it's just a well-defined machine on offense. But you've got a beast on the other side. If you look at Michigan and what they have to do in this game, what they've done in earlier games is to protect the three-point line, get people off the three-point line, at least put hands in faces at the three-point line, force you into the two-point area, and they are incredible there. When people have been forced to shoot two-point jumpers, they've averaged less than 40% a game. So how do they define this? Well, they make Villanova do something they're uncomfortable doing. And that means go inside for shorter shots. So I think there's a real good chance this is going to be a very close game. I picked Villanova, but it's going to be close.
Many times.
I think Villanova is the clear favorite, not just because I courageously picked them a number 1 seed to win the tournament, but because this has to be one of the best college offenses I've ever seen. I mean, they don't just have a couple of guys who are chucking threes. Every single one of them can hit threes, and they're shooting smart threes. They ranked third in three-point attempts this season and 12th in three-point attempt rate. What that means is they're being efficient. They're picking their spots. When everything's going right for them, they are basically impossible to stop.
Nobody has any pause, and maybe everything went so right for them on Saturday, it would be hard to repeat that performance on Monday night. Kevin, you?
Well, I mean, I don't think they necessarily will turn in that stellar a performance against a team that does play defense very well, but I just think that they have so many options. I mean, I love a guy like Amari Spellman who can take you outside and hit the three and take you inside and be hanging on the rim in the next second.
Gutierrez?
No, I do think that, if you look at Villanova's style and you look at Michigan's style, Michigan can dominate a little bit on the inside, and that can make things more difficult for them as well. But I just love the idea of Villanova taking this NBA style of game, like you mentioned, KB, with Spellman. Not only can your guard shoot, but you put the big men out there and shoot. Who are you going to stick with?
All right, let's get a score at least. I think everybody's taking Villanova. I need a way to mute people tomorrow, so let's see who comes closest. Kevin Blackistone, score for tonight.
I'll take it 75-66.
Gutierrez?
I got 68-66, Villanova.
Page?
71-70.
Times?
86-78.
All right, we'll move on. Let's talk about the greatest finish to a basketball championship ever. I'm waiting for you guys to come up with something that could possibly be better than this, and could possibly be better than Enrique Ogunbowale's 2 Final Four finishes, and could possibly be better than Notre Dame's run to this title. Woody, answer any question. Give us any takeaway from Notre Dame's national championship, please.
Well, it was historical. It's never happened in the history of men's or women's college basketball that you've had 2 last-second shots. I don't even need to look it up. I don't need ESPN stats. Nobody has ever, one person has never made, going back to when I was first covering this in 1939, nobody has ever had back-to-back in the semifinals and the finals. So Enrique, Big O, number 2, if you will. And she did it twice. And not only do you upset UConn, considered maybe the best UConn ever, but then Mississippi State has to say before the game, well, it can't happen to us again where we're beat on the last-second shot. And it happened. So I just think that it's better than what we're going to see tonight. It was better than what we saw on Saturday in the men's. I think this is the ultimate moment weekend in women's basketball history.
Gutierrez, what's your takeaway?
I think Ogunbowale went to bed after hitting that game winner in overtime against UConn, saying that was the greatest shot she will ever have in her collegiate career. And then she one-upped herself 2 nights later. So I do think, it's marvelous. It's great that the referees didn't really ruin the moment by calling a foul that should have been a foul over there on Mississippi State, but also putting 1/10 of a second back on the clock at the end of it. That was ridiculous. But in the overall, I just love the idea of it being a compelling final and having the same person hit the game winners. It makes you want to watch in the future. And if it's going to be a team taking down UConn on the way, then of course it's going to make you want to watch.
Blackistone?
Well, it just punctuated what was a fantastic Final Four for the women. We had double OT game. We had another OT game, 2 buzzer beaters to win it. Unbelievable. I will say this, though. 1994, North Carolina won the national championship on a last-second, 0.7 seconds were left on the clock, an inbounds pass across the paint, like a skip pass, to Charlotte Smith, who then drained the jumper right at the buzzer. That was an unbelievable play.
Mina Kimes.
The second game winner was amazing because she wasn't supposed to take it. She was having such a bad shooting night. She went 6 for 21. They were trying to inbound to someone else, but she got open. She fought through that and then had the confidence to take the shot. It was unbelievable. I'm a fan. I'm guessing the refs are also a fan because she bailed them out big time. If she had just made a layup or something instead of that incredible shot, we would be talking more about the blown call on Morgan Williams.
With 5 seconds left? Yeah, let's talk about that. Was Morgan Williams fouled with 5 seconds left, Mina?
They trucked her. Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm not saying that's why they lost. Obviously, they had their shot. They missed it. But that was 100%
Woody, does the no call there affect everything after?
Look at that.
No. Every play is individual. And sure, it's right at the end of the game, but I don't think it actually overcomes what happened in the game.
Mm-hmm. Israel, how about you?
You know how many times we've had these situations in big games, huge games, where it's just okay, the referee has... No. This ending was too good to go back and ruin. And I know Mississippi State, I'm sorry. It's not good for you. But the ending was too good to go back and dissect this referees on this one particular call when we talk about, all the time, one call does not win or lose a game. Well, we're not going to do that this time.
I'm going to remember that when when you lose one of these showdowns by 1 and you think you had a comeback. Go ahead, Blackistone, last word.
Well, Mississippi State did kind of set this up. They blew a bunny down the end. They had that play. It's questionable. Could have gone all the way. Either way. But at the end of the day, there had to be a fantastic, unbelievable shot made at the end to win it for the other team.
I got one bone to pick with the referees. Why put 0.1 second left on the clock? That's actually the worst, of all time. And one more thing. Notre Dame had 3 losses this season. They had 4 ACL tears. They had more ACLs than L's this season. Amazing. Winning like that, the only thing that could supersede Notre Dame's previous win. And since we're on the topic of Notre Dame's previous win, and UConn has been invoked numerous times, let me just ask a question that's never been asked in the history of the show. Why can't UConn win the big one? Is UConn slipping? Is there proof here that this is actually good for the sport? Mina, please, go ahead.
I think my big takeaway from them losing is that we need to stop asking this question. We need to have a different conversation about women's basketball and dominance. And we got to get away from the, is this bad for the sport? Is UConn over? Because clearly the rest of the field has caught up to them. By the end of the tournament, we look at these teams. We look at what Notre Dame did. It wasn't a fluke, their loss. They lost for normal basketball reasons. They had too many turnovers. They struggled against Notre Dame's zone defense. There is no reason why we shouldn't be talking about that. And I think after 2 years, we can now expect that level of competition at the end of tournaments.
Woody Page?
Well, I think the situation here is very clear that every other team is shooting for them all the time in regard to we got to knock off the champion. And we saw it with UCLA and the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Walton eras, and then along came David Thompson and Monty Tao to knock them down off the mountain. And that's what's happening. Mina's absolutely right. These teams are improving their programs, they're improving their coaching staffs, and they're getting more comfortable with watching and playing against UConn. And you go back to the beginning of the tournament where there was a game that was, 70 points? And everybody said, there's not any competition for them. There is.
Israel?
We complained about it during the process, right? When they were great, having undefeated seasons and winning, we complained about it while the other teams were answering, while they were building up to get better. And so if we have a little patience, we recognize that it gets to this point where it evens out some. And on top of that, if you have UConn saying, wait a second, we're not this dominant, we have to get better. I want to see what Gino Auriemma has in store if they're going to actually have to be better from now on.
Kevin Blackistone.
Well, they got the number one recruit again, if I'm not mistaken. The problem isn't really at the Final Four. The problem is before that when you see UConn or even other top teams who are dropping some of their competition by 20, 30, 40, 50 points in just regular games. And that's where I think that the problem is with the talent. The more really good high school girls basketball players need to go to a variety of programs rather than just the few that they seem to go to and spread that wealth around. It's been a problem for a long time.
Israel, did you want a last word after the horn?
Yeah, they haven't lost UConn in the regulation since 2013, just for KB's point. They can still make the regular season.
Although
boring,
they do, they haven't won
in
the tournament in overtime. I think they're 0-7 when the game goes to overtime. You had the walk-off from Auriemma last year where he was smiling almost when Morgan Williams hit the shot. That snapped their 111-game win streak, because it was so absurd. Wasn't really smiling when he walked up the court this year, but that's a wonderful, incredible thing for the sport of basketball. We're going to take a break right here. Buy or sell on the other side. Stick around.
Around the Horn is brought to you by Universal's new film Blockers, in theaters Friday.
Ryan! I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Buy or sell.
Shohei Ohtani, 6 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 6 strikeouts. Nobody ever remembers anybody's first start, really, right? Wouldn't you say?
Strasburg.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I guess well played. He was 1 for 5 at the plate in his game, but nobody ever really remembers anybody's first at bats, do they?
Harper.
You, good. Now, Harper? No, I don't remember his first at bat. Mina, Ohtani.
No!
Something or nothing to start his career.
If you're going to play that every time, I feel like I should get a cut.
I'm going to play it every time and you're not going to get a cut.
Last time this was discussed when he was struggling during spring training, a wise woman, perhaps a Korean-American journalist, appeared on the show and said, guys, relax. There's a reason why teams were falling over themselves for this guy. He's a 23-year-old pitcher who can hit 100 miles per hour. He has the stuff. He's just going to need a second to adjust to big league hitting and pitching. And in the meantime, we need to relax and not treat every start like the end of the world.
Woody Page?
Mina, you do get a cut. First cut every time you're on. So I watched Ohtani in spring training on a back lot against some junior leaguers, it looked like, because he struck out 9 out of 12 guys he faced. He's way ahead in pitching. I don't know that he'll ever be a great hitter in these major leagues, but he will probably be the only second person to ever have 10 home runs and 10 victories on the mound in the same season, and the first was Babe Ruth.
Gutierrez?
Well, yeah, it is funny that when a guy changes continents, we expect him to be on fire in spring training. Yeah, I'm with Mina. You should have given him a second right here. And I also think it's just a lot of pressure. It's one thing to be the novelty, be the strong starting pitcher that can also hit. It's another thing to be labeled the next Babe Ruth when you come over to this country. Give this guy a second.
Which is exactly what Woody Page just did. Go ahead, Kevin Blackistone.
But you're right. We always get excited about these guys. Remember Dice K and his gyro ball and the 10 strikeouts or something like that he had in his debut, and people were talking about, oh, my goodness, what's going to happen to baseball with this guy? Well, baseball's still around, and Dice K, not really.
When you said Dice K, I thought you were talking Dice Clay. Remember Dice Clay? Yeah, remember Dice Clay. Buy or sell, too. It's 7-0 Twins in the 9th inning. Twins do a defensive shift, and the Orioles bunt. And, of course, hilarious baseballness ensued. Minnesota complaining about the bunt. Unwritten rules invoked, yada, yada, yada. Woody, what to buy, what to sell?
The unwritten rules of baseball aren't worth the paper that they're written on. That's the first thing that I think about it. And the second thing is, if you're going to have a shift when you're ahead 7-0, then he has every right to bunt into that shift. I want to see more players beat the shift. I don't care what the circumstances are. And he almost rallied.
Gutierrez.
The shift is too new. There hasn't been unwritten rules written about it yet. So I don't know that. I think that's something we should implement, certainly. I mean, I love the idea of Minnesota saying, oh, they got great leadership over there. They'll deal with it over there. Deal with what? Trying to win a game? Like we should stop fouling at the end of basketball games so that teams can't come back properly? It's just ridiculous.
Blackistone.
Last week when we saw the shift, we said the exact same thing. Why don't they bunt to the other side? That's exactly what you saw here. This is the way, this is the prescription to beating the shift should you see it again later on.
Mina Kimes.
This isn't just stupid. It's also bad for baseball because the unwritten rules, which are mostly dumb, are technically usually about decorum. This is about competitiveness. This is disrespectful to the fans. It's saying your team shouldn't even try to win. Right. If I was a fan, I'd be infuriated by this kind of thinking.
Also, Mina, you said something during the break when we were approaching this story. It's not just the old players who are talking about this and being insulted. It's young guys. It's so ingrained in the game that 21-year-olds are like, this isn't the way baseball's supposed to be played.
Yeah, we should try to win.
Yeah. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Zlatan Ibrahimovic! Oh, my goodness. You're welcome, Galaxy. Israel, what do 2 goals like that mean for Zlatan, mean for LA, mean for MLS?
I mean, it gives you, how you say, the chicken skin, the goosebumps there trying to watch him. That was a great line from him back in the day. But, I mean, look, this is exactly the type of debut you want. This is exactly the type of debut you have to have when you put out an ad that says, you're welcome for me joining you, okay? He's 36 years old. He's not exactly in his prime anymore, but this is exactly what we want.
Maybe.
Yeah, well, this is what you also wanted from David Beckham. Remember, David Beckham comes in already a global name, a household name in soccer in this country. Nobody knew Swedish is the best player from Sweden ever, but now they get a taste of him. Hopefully, people will tune back in to watch.
I'm not jiving with the nobody knew. Nobody knew Ebro. Go ahead, Mina Kimes.
Not like with David Beckham.
Afterwards, he said, I have a history of making my first shot, my first game, which is actually true. He did score in his first games with La Liga, Champions League, Premier League, which is amazing. And it's also immensely entertaining, which is why he's so great for this sport. He will put butts in seats by the virtue of his personality. The doing well is just a bonus.
Woody Page.
I don't think people know that there's another team in Los Angeles. That's the first thing that came up. So it was good that they have that cross, if you would, traffic.
Crosstown traffic, El Trafico. Yes, thank you, Woody Page. I mean, way to really stick the landing. You wanted to tell people that this matchup is called El Trafico, not El Clasico. But I had to do all the work to get you there. And you're going the wrong way. What? All right, that's it for Woody Page. Blackistone's done too. Kimes, Gutierrez, your showdown.
That's why it's fair to bunt.
It's a normal day. You're rushing out the door to get to work on time when suddenly, there it is, the dreaded service light. So what is it this time? Tire pressure, low coolant, time for an oil change? When it comes to surface lights, head to Jiffy Lube. We've got you covered. Drive in today and make the switch to Pennzoil. Ask for Pennzoil Synthetics, getting you back on the road in a jiffy. Jiffy Lube. Leave worry behind.
It's Mina, it's Israel, it's showdown after Woody Page got some Il Traffico in his mouth. So, first up, Grant Hill. The high of making the Hall of Fame this weekend or the low of making this face during the telecast, Mina?
What I love is when you search Grant Hill on Twitter, despite the fact that he made it to the Hall of Fame, only this comes up. The internet stays undefeated.
No, this is a competitor in Grant Hill. Do you remember his Duke teammate Thomas Hill with this crazy reaction after Christian Laettner hit that shot? This is Grant Hill saying, no, this is my reaction face. It's better than yours.
Let's see Israel's reaction face as I give Mina the point. Showdown 2, the Anthony Davis brow-shaving April Fool's prank. Fair or foul to fool about something so sacred, Israel?
Oh, I think it's especially foul. As somebody who never gets comments about his eyebrows ever, I do understand where Anthony Davis is coming from.
Look, I'm the most gullible human being in the world, and even I knew that was a prank. Not because of the timing, but because of the cutaway. It wasn't well executed at all.
Israel is going to take a point for the brow. We'll move on. The video of Aaron Donald pass rush training by resisting a dude with knives that was released on April Fool's Day. Are we going to honestly believe this is true? Okay, fine. If you think it's true, what is it accomplishing, Mina?
Well, it leads me to believe that Aaron Donald doesn't know chop blocks are illegal. Get it? Chop blocks? Knives?
Is it still Halloween? Are you still doing the dog impersonation here? Listen, I mean, man, I didn't think defenders could lower their heads anymore, but apparently offensive linemen can take knives with them to the games. Totally unnecessary.
Your clutch points right now.
Chop blocks!
Oh,
right
boy.
there.
Gutierrez, take the FaceTime.
Man. It's actually been a subject we've talked about here on the show, but Jim Moore, former UCLA coach, doing it again, calling Josh Rosen a millennial in a bad way, saying he's too much of an intellectual. He needs more information, otherwise he's going to be bored. He needs to know why. What in the world is wrong with that? Could you imagine raising your kids that way, saying, no, you don't need to know why, just trust what I'm saying. Just focus on football for 3 straight years, and then maybe you'll be successful at what you do. Oh, my goodness, brains are the worst thing to have. And by the way, don't be a millennial. It's the worst thing in the world.
Speaking of our resident millennial.
No! This is gonna
Cut it out!
I don't know how else to say this, so I'll just say it.
What is it, Linda?
I think we should see other people.
Are you breaking up with me? On a roller coaster?
Well, we do have a lot of fun. Maybe we should stay together.
An emotional roller coaster? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I just need a little me time.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.